Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, taking a verse a lot of us know or think we know and looking much deeper.
Hmm.
We're talking about Ephesians 4:30 from the Bible. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
Now, for many people, and I'll admit for me too, sometimes that verse kind of brings up this picture,
Yeah, I know the one.
like a God who can get emotionally hurt, maybe offended by what we do, almost like you have to be careful not to upset this divine entity. It's a pretty common take, I think.
It really is. That image is quite persistent in many circles.
So our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to really explore Dr. Roy's interpretation of this. He offers a pretty different way of looking at it, challenging those assumptions.
Very different, yeah. It shifts the focus quite dramatically.
We're going to try and unpack what Dr. Roy believes Paul was really getting at, focusing less on an external deity's feelings and more on our own inner world, what spirit is, and maybe even what redemption actually means in this context.
Okay, let's dive in.
Right. So let's start with that word grieve. Expert Dr. Roy really takes issue with the common understanding right away, doesn't he? What's his main point there?
He does. His immediate challenge is to that very idea that Paul is talking about, an emotional God whose spirit can be, hurt or offended by our actions.
Okay.
And this is where he goes straight to the original Greek language, which is really key here. The word used for grieve is lipe.
Lipe. Okay.
Yeah, lipe. And he emphasizes that Paul's choice of this specific word is important. It points primarily to an internal experience. Think to be sad, to feel heaviness, to be distressed.
So less about causing offense to someone else and more about a feeling inside.
Exactly. That's the core insight Dr. Roy presents. The heaviness, the sadness isn't located in God. It's describing something we experience. It happens when we sort of turn away from that inner divine awareness.
What?
So it's not about insulting a deity. It's about the consequence within us when we disconnect. This linguistic point is really foundational for his whole reinterpretation. It shifts the frame entirely.
That is a big shift right from the start. Okay, so if grieve is about our internal state, our heaviness,
Yeah.
then what about the spirit, the Holy Spirit that's being grieved? Because, the traditional view of a separate person of the Trinity who feels sad doesn't quite fit that internal model anymore.
Right, it doesn't. And that's the next piece Dr. Roy tackles. He really pushes back hard on that traditional idea of the spirit as a separate external being.
How does he define it then?
He puts it quite directly. It's not a third member of a Trinity who follows us around feeling moody.
Right.
Instead, he defines spirit, the Holy Spirit in this context, as something like the pure breath, inspiration, and awareness of the Father within you.
Within you. Okay.
Yeah. He links it back to Genesis, to that holy, set-apart breath of life that was breathed into man from the beginning. He calls it the divine mind always present in your being.
So less of an external observer, more like an inherent part of who we are, like our deepest consciousness.
That's a good way to put it. It's part of our fundamental identity, always there, always accessible within us. Not someone else getting sad, but our own awareness becoming heavy or distressed.
But his redefinition really does change the whole dynamic of the verse. Which brings us to the next part. Being sealed unto the day of redemption. Now, sealed, that word often makes me think of like a wax seal on a letter, something official, maybe permanent.
Like marking ownership or authenticity.
Exactly. But I imagine Dr. Roy has a different angle on this too, moving beyond just a literal stamp.
He definitely does. Again, he looks at the Greek. The word is phrages, and yes, it can mean marked, identified, authenticated.
Okay.
But Dr. Roy interprets this not just as a mark put on you, but as revealing something fundamental about you. He puts it like this. You have been stamped in your true identity from before time began, or your life essence is permanently marked by divine nature.
So it's about recognizing an identity that's already inherent, not something newly imposed, like confirming who you truly are at your core.
Precisely. It speaks to this innate, unshakable connection to the divine, marked in your very being. It was always there.
All right, and that leads us to the final piece of the phrase, unto the day of redemption. Now, this often gets pictured as some future event, right? A specific day when God swoops in and rescues or saves everyone.
Yes, that's a very common interpretation, a literal future point in time.
But knowing Dr. Roy's approach so far, I'm guessing he sees this differently too. More. Allegorically, perhaps.
Absolutely. He argues against seeing it as a singular future rescue event. For him, it's much more about an ongoing process. He says it speaks allegorically of the ongoing and progressive awakening to your kinship with Father.
An awakening, so like becoming aware of that connection we just talked about.
Exactly, an awakening to that sealed identity. He calls this experience, this unfolding awareness, the Logos life.
Logos life. Can you unpack that a little? What does he mean by that?
Sure. Logos often translates to word or reason or divine principle. So, Logos life, in Dr. Roy's framework, seems to mean living in conscious alignment with that inherent divine pattern or awareness within you, recognizing that deep kinship with the source, with the Father.
Okay, living from that recognized connection.
Yes. And here's the crucial part of his interpretation of Day of Redemption. He says, every moment of awakening is a day of redemption.
Ah, so it's not a one-off future event, but any moment you realize or step into that deeper awareness.
Exactly. It's an internal, continuous unfolding. Every time you consciously connect with that divine mind within, that's a moment of redemption, of liberation from old ways of thinking.
Okay, wow. We've looked at grieve as our inner heaviness, spirit as inner divine awareness, sealed as our inherent divine identity, and redemption as the ongoing awakening to that identity. That's quite a dismantling of the common view.
It really is. Each piece builds on the last, pointing inward.
So bringing it all together now, after all this reinterpretation, what does Dr. Roy say Paul's actual message was in Ephesians 4:3? What's the punchline, so to speak?
Well, the synthesis he offers is pretty profound. He argues Paul's essentially saying, do not sadden yourself. Notice the shift. Do not sadden yourself by ignoring your inner divine awareness. You have been marked in your true identity. Live from it.
So it's an instruction about where to focus our attention, about living from that inner truth.
Yes, it's a call to align ourselves internally, to operate from that place of innate wholeness and connection that's already ours, that's been sealed in us.
Okay, that makes sense within his framework. So if that's the call, align with your inner divine awareness, what's the consequence of not doing that, according to Dr. Roy? What happens when we ignore that inner reality?
Well, that's where the practical impact, the heaviness, comes back in. Dr. Roy suggests that when we choose to operate from what he calls old awareness.
Old awareness. What does he mean by that? Or he also mentioned inherited consequence thinking. Can you clarify?
Yeah, good question. By old awareness, he means those habitual thought patterns, the ways of thinking that are rooted in a sense of separation, limitation, or fear. Inherited consequence thinking ties into that maybe beliefs about guilt passed down, or cycles of negative thinking we've learned, or even just fear-based religious ideas about condemnation.
Got it. So the mindset of being separate, flawed, or afraid.
Exactly. As opposed to the awareness of oneness or wholeness. And Dr. Roy says when we choose to live from that old awareness, we essentially veil ourselves from the joy, peace, and rest of living in oneness with the divine.
We veil ourselves. So again, it's an internal consequence.
Precisely. The key point he makes over and over is that this choice creates heaviness in us, not in God. It's not a divine punishment. It's the natural result within our own experience of turning away from our true source.
That really clarifies the grieving part. It's our own awareness that feels the distress. It reminds me, Dr. Roy uses an analogy to make this clear, doesn't he? Something about a stream.
Yes, it's a stream analogy. It's a really hopeful picture, I think. He suggests thinking of your inner divine awareness, that spirit within, as a kind of clear, pure stream flowing through you.
Okay, like a source of life.
Right. And when you draw from this internal well, this stream, what comes out is joy, wisdom, and peace. It's your natural state, your connection to the source.
And the contrast then is?
The contrast is choosing not to drink from that stream. Instead, you turn away and choose to drink from what he calls the polluted well of inherited consequence thinking, fear, or religious condemnation.
So drinking from the old awareness.
Exactly. And that choice, drinking from the polluted well, is what results in the heaviness, the sadness, the distress, the lipos we talked about earlier.
The crucial insight there is.
The crucial insight is, the stream has not changed, but your awareness of it has. The pure divine source within you is constant, always flowing. It's our choice of where we focus our awareness, which well we drink from, that determines our experience. The heaviness is a symptom of drinking from the wrong well, not a change in the pure water itself.
That's a powerful way to visualize it. The source is always pure. It's our accessing of it, or lack thereof, that creates the feeling.
Precisely. It puts the responsibility and the power back within us.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. After unpacking the Greek, rethinking spirit, understanding sealed and redemption in this new light, how does Dr. Roy ultimately reread Ephesians 4:30? What's his full integrated translation or understanding?
Right, putting it all together, his proposed reading goes something like this. Do not sadden or distress your divine awareness, your spirit inspiration within you, by living from old awareness.
Okay.
You have been permanently identified with your divine Father. Live in that reality as your continual awakening unfolds.
Wow, read like that, it feels completely
It
different.
really does. It transforms it from, a warning about upsetting an external God into an internal invitation. An invitation to live from the truth of who you already are, from your inherent divine nature, and to embrace the ongoing journey of awakening to that reality. It centers everything on our own inner experience.
That is, yeah, profound shift in perspective. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Dr. Roy's take certainly offers a compelling alternative to how this verse is often understood, focusing away from an external, maybe easily offended God.
Mhm.
And we've really focused today just on his specific interpretation, his lens. So maybe a final thought for you listening. How does this idea resonate? Recognizing your own divine awareness, seeing it as this pure stream always available within you, does that change how you think about moments of sadness or joy? Does it shift your sense of who you fundamentally are?
It's a great question to ponder.
Yeah. Which well are you drawing from in your daily life? The clear, pure stream within or somewhere else? Definitely something to reflect on as you continue your own deep dive.